Hello and welcome to another off-meta deck profile brought to you by Double Sleeve. Today we're going to be going through one of my favorite decks and one of my favorite characters in Dragon Ball. You guys know already I'm a big fan of Trunks. This is the Super Saiyan God Trunks Black Leader. Before we get into the profile, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's amazing the amount of people that are actually watching our videos that aren't subscribed. So we really appreciate those who have subscribed, and if you haven't, please do to stay up to date with the latest content that we are putting out there. Again, we really appreciate the love and support from everyone as the channel's grown so much. Let's get into deck profile here. We have on the leader front side is the active main. This is really good because it means you don't need to swing into your opponent to get your draw. Once per turn, choose one black battle card, one black card in your hand, send it to your warp, and then draw 2 cards. So it's good. What you guys will see with this deck, if you haven't played it before, is a lot of the cards play from the warp, so it's really handy to get the cards in there. And we'll go through a few of why some of the cards are in the deck a bit later on when we get to those. Awakening condition is really good here. So when your life is 4 or less, or there are 5 or more Saiyan cards in your warp, you may draw 1 card and switch up to 1 your energy to active mode. So that's why it's really important to get those cards into your warp as quickly as possible. And you'll notice the deck is very thin on extra cards. What this deck was lacking in the past before this update was actual consistency. So you could get extra cards going into your warp, cards that aren't Saiyans going into your warp, and you'll notice majority of cards now in the deck are Saiyan. There's only 4 cards that are extra cards, and you got 4 unisons also, which, to be honest, after playing this deck, I'm even considering dropping the unison down. May not be as necessary anymore, but still definitely handy to get your awakened condition there. So 5 Saiyans in the warp, you can actually awaken at 8 life. I've done it many times with this deck where you can awaken at high life. The super combo is a bit of a 50-50. You can swap that out, but we'll get to that when we get there. On the leader backside has blocker. So it's one of the, I'm pretty sure the only leader card with blocker. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 2 cards, then choose 1 card in your hand, send it to your warp. Really important when you on your awaken turn, use your leader front ability to send a card and draw 2, flip over, and then swing and get the extra 2 draws and send 1. You can draw a lot of cards with this deck. Auto, once per turn, when your opponent attacks a unison, switch this card to active mode, and that's how you can attack with a leader, and then you get the block out of it. And if you've got 8 life, then it's really handy to be able to block some of those unison swings. Active main, once per turn, Spirit Boost 1 for 1 energy. Place 2 black battle cards from your warp in the owner's drop area. Choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to their warp. So that's the only real reason I'm actually still running the unison. The main unison for this deck, the only one that I think is probably the best for it, you can run Bardock to get draw power, but this really sets you up. Supreme Card Time, posing the Empire. Auto, once per turn, if your leader card is Trunksino, which it is, and it's your turn, when a battle card is played from your warp, draw 1 card, add a marker to this card, so you can gain a lot of markers. And then +1 active main, if your leader card is a Black Saiyan, send up to 3 cards from the top of your deck to your warp. I recommend doing it until you hit around about the 8 to 10 cards in your warp, and then don't use that ability anymore. You'll get more cards in there eventually. The reason being, there are some cards that need plenty of cards in the warp to actually play them. We'll get to those soon. But then you can also thin your deck out very, very quickly, and you can deck yourself out. So it's really important that you're balancing your draws and what you're sending to your warp. I recommend probably when you're hitting around about that turn 3 point, you're probably not using that ability anymore. We have our first battle card, Son Gohan challenging the Demon God, who is a blocker. When this card is played, send up to 3 cards from the top of your deck to your warp. Active main for 1 black energy. If your leader card is a black Trunksino, play this card from your warp. So essentially, your turn 1, you're looking for either this Gohan or this Goten. They're your ideal turn 1s. This Goten is very similar. When it's played, send top 3 cards from your up to the top 3 from your deck to your warp. And for 1 black, play it from your warp. And this has active battle, once per turn, Spirit Boost 1, and this card gains critical. These cards are really important in terms of your awakening. So you're going to be doing the top 3 cards. You want to get as many cards as possible. So ideally, your turn 1, you're playing one of these guys from your leader front, send it to your warp, and then you're playing it out, putting the top 3, getting yourself ready to awaken. You can use these cards. They are 10k beaters. You can use them either as aggressive pressure or to defend and go for more mid-range. So depending on what you're going up against, some decks you need to go a little bit more aggro. You can use those for early game pushes, or you can use them as defensive or combo power should you need. Going into our first big boy of the deck, and we've got Super Saiyan God Trunks. Power Awakened, has Deflect and Dual Attack. Permanent, if this card is removed from your battle area, remove it from the game instead. And when this card attacks, place 3 black battle cards from your warp to your owner's drop area. This plays for 2 black energy. If your leader card is black and there are 8 or more cards in your warp, play this card from your warp. This really helps set up your overwhelm and a 20k dual attack. Dual attack is such a powerful skill in this game. The fact that you can just keep swinging, putting that additional pressure, really, really handy. Next, we've got Pan. It's our floodgate for the deck. So it's designed naturally for this deck. Counter attack, play this card. Permanent, reduce during your opponent's turn, reduce the energy cost of this card in hand by 1. So it's a 1-cost floodgate. With the order, if your leader card is a black Trunksino only card and you choose 1 card in your hand, send it to your warp, again feeding your warp. When this card is played, your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn unless they choose 2 cards in their hand and discard them each time. So it doesn't negate the attack, but it does the floodgate on battle cards. Most people are swinging with their leader card first to get their draw off the leader, just in case they get countered or anything like that. So then it causes every time they attack with a battle card, they're losing 2 cards from hand. 2 copies of Super Saiyan 3 Trunks challenging a Demon God. This one, I've got it 2 because its play condition from the warp is Spirit Boost 1. So you need to do Spirit Boost 1 and pay 1 energy. Excuse me. If your leader card is black Trunks Xeno only card, you have 3 or more energy, play this card from your warp. So you need 3 energy before you can play this. It does have double strike when you have 10 or more cards in your warp. So really important to map out what's in there. If you're swinging with something like the dual attack Trunks and popping cards back into your drop area, you can turn this permanent off. So it's not always a double striker. A little bit into the defensive cards that we have here. So we have Black Marseille, Assassin from the Darkness. This card's really handy in terms of just its couple of different abilities. So downside of this card is it has no combo power. So it's something to keep in mind. This card can only attack while you have 3 or more energy and your leader is a Z leader or you have a Z battle card in play, which we have a few of those. We'll go through those a bit later. Auto, when this card is played, choose 1. If it's your turn, choose one of your opponent's battle cards with energy cost of 6 or less and send it to the warp. So strong, sending a battle card to the warp instead of to the drop area. If it's your opponent's turn, choose one of your cards and it gets plus 5k for the turn. This is essentially being for the deck if you need it. So it's active battle limit 1. If your leader card is black, play it from your hand. So you can play it from your hand, get 5k. Generally, when I'm playing this, I'm putting it, if I don't need to remove something, I'm putting a bean on my leader and giving it plus 5k for the turn. 2 copies of Marseille Brainwash No More, just to make sure I draw into it. Double Strike's a really strong finisher, and this essentially stops it. So if you don't know what this is, it's an Overwhelm card. I'm never playing this card with Overwhelm. Essentially, what I'm playing this for is the active battle. If your leader card is black and you discard this card from hand, place 1 of your life in the drop area, and your leader card doesn't take damage for the battle. Someone swinging in with Double Strike, going for the win, they dump their hand. You pay 1 critical life, and then you're safe. You essentially save yourself from dying there. 2 copies of Son Gohan. Potentially wouldn't mind bumping this up to 3 as well. It's actually a really solid card. Permanent, when this card will be removed from the battle area, remove it from the game instead. Auto, limit 1. If your leader card is black and your life is 4 or less, you may add 1 card from your life to your hand. Place 1 card from your hand to the bottom of your deck. When your opponent attacks with a battle card, you may play this card from your drop or warp in rest mode and negate the attack. Because we're filtering everything into our warp, it's automatically going to be in there, so it's really easy to have a free negate there if you think someone's swinging in with a double striker. Essentially, critical life, you're playing that in rest mode, stopping the attack from going through. And then if he stays on board, you got a 15k beater for the next turn. Auto for 1 black. If your leader card is black, when this card is added to your Z energy, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and set it to its owner's warp. So again, really good removal if someone's going in with a 4 cost or less. You can just, or if they're going in with a battle card, you know there's another threat coming. Combo this off at the end of the battle, put it in your Z energy, pay the energy, and remove the threat that's going to be coming. For the super combo, I've got the Vegeta. The reason why I'm going with this over something else is essentially because I've got the thwarting package in here. You need the 2 battle cards to have that 5k, so really handy. If you are going to swap it out for something else, just keep that in mind. You're going to need something to replace for the thwarting. Great super combo, but your life needs to be 4 or less, which you have to wait until a little bit late game, which isn't massive issue. You do have blocker on your leader as well if need be, but it's something just to keep in mind that you need to be at 4 less or 4 life or less. Paired up with this Goku True Fighting Spirit, has Deflect and Unique. Unique is part of the errata, so never used to have that, so it doesn't naturally say it on the card. This card is good if you need a little bit of pressure or counter. So the once per turn is if your leader card is a Black Saiyan, when your opponent activates a counter skill, they choose 1 card in their hand, send it to the warp, which isn't bad. Makes someone essentially have to discard a card if they, or warp a card if they use a counter once per turn. If they're using something like a Floodgate, they lose 3 cards from their hand, which is pretty nice. Also, if you need the pressure, you can, when you swing, take 1 life, help self-awaken. If you want to get down to that 4 for the super combo range, and you got a 15k beta also. They pair up for SS3 Gogeta thwarting. Fantastic card still. Overwhelm 6, Union Fusion, which is what we're using it more for. Essentially, you're taking those 2, 1 Goku, 1 Vegeta, send them from your warp to your drop, and playing this guy out. And then when this card attacks, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, send it to the warp, and you got a 25k double striker. Really strong. Limited to 1, so you can only run 1 in the deck, but you will draw so much that you'll see it. Even if you warp it, you have this Goku here, Super Saiyan 4, Goku Beyond All Limits. Overwhelm 6, if your leader card is black, when you use Overwhelm, add 1 black battle card between the energy costs of 3 and 7 from your warp to your hand. So if you lose this guy, don't worry about it. Your warp drop's going to be set up. You Overwhelm, add him back to hand, and then you're going to have your Goku and Vegeta ready to go, and you're just paying 1 energy. So essentially that turn, even if you are getting him from warp, you got a 25k double striker on top of a 30k beta. That's pretty good for 1 energy. Here we have another Wincon, really strong card. You have to map out the play a little bit more with this. So you got Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, thwarting the Dark Empire. So it has triple attack, blocker, permanent. While this card is in rest mode, it can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. Auto once per turn. When this card attacks, choose up to 2 cards in their hand. Your opponent chooses 2 cards in their hand and 2 of their battle cards, ignoring barrier, send them to your owner's warp, and at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode. So you have a 35k triple attack blocker. You play this for 4 energy, choose 1 Goku Xeno and 1 Vegeta Xeno in your battle area, drop area, send it to the owner's warp, and play this card from your hand. So really important when you're mapping this out, you can use something like Trunks to pop the Goku and Vegeta back into your drop area, pay for the SS4 Gogeta, they go back to the warp, then you can play the thwarting out if you have it in hand as well, so you can get these both out, and then you send these guys back to the drop area. Really strong finisher, but only running a 1 of. We've got a couple of essentially secret rare cards in the deck. The actual secret rare that I'm running, and this is because you can play this card from the warp, this card is perfect for the deck. Evil Saiyan, Malice Made, Flesh. Everyone loves Kumba. If they don't, they should, because it's fantastic. Secret rare, if your opponent's life is at 2 or more, when this card is played, look through your opponent's life, send 1 card, the energy cost of 7 or less, very important, 7 or less, to your opponent's warp. Your opponent shuffles their life and plays 1 battle card with an energy cost of 7 or less from your opponent's warp in your battle area with its skills negated for the game. You don't need to choose a battle card with this. So if you look at your opponent's life and say you're against a blue player, they've got Dimension Magic, or they've got something along those sort of lines that you go, it's going to make it harder for me to push through if they happen to grab that, you can send that to their warp instead. Otherwise, send a battle card, whatever their highest power is, and you essentially get that beta, which is fantastic. Great auto that it has as well. Auto once per turn. When your opponent plays a battle card with energy cost of 7 or less, you may send 1 of your battle cards to its owner's warp if you do gain control of the played card. So this is really strong if your opponent tries to floodgate you. You essentially get rid of 1 of your battle cards, or say you've stolen 1 of your opponent's battle cards, send it to the warp, and then you get to steal that floodgate. If the floodgate is tied to the auto and not the counter, you get the floodgate, which means that they don't have the floodgate. It's so strong to allow you to push for game. And active main for 2 black energy. If it's your opponent has 3 or more energy, play this card from your hand or your warp, which is why we don't mind it in the warp. Then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and send it to its owner's warp. So you get to warp a battle card, look at their life. If they're at 2 or more, get rid of a body in there. You're then playing something. And if they try and play a battle card that's a counter battle card, you can steal that. It's so strong. A couple more Cumber cards for the deck, and this is what the big update has been to make it a lot more consistent. The big issue with these cards is your opponent needs to have 2 or more battle cards in play. So this Cumber has dual attack. When this card is played, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and gain Servant until the end of your opponent's next turn. Really strong in terms of if something's in rest mode, they can't untap that card. You're not playing it and not going to give Servant to something because you're essentially stopping them from being able to get their plays off or putting pressure on, especially with the next one, which is the SPR. We'll go through that soon. Active main limit 1. If your leader card is black, your opponent has 2 or more energy and a battle card in play, play this card from your hand. So they've got 1 battle card in play, you've got a dual attacker coming through, and you're keeping one of their cards in rest mode. 19k dual attack for 1 energy is insane. The big boy, we have Super Saiyan Cumber Berserker Barrage. Order, if your leader card is Black Saiyan, when this card is played, draw 1 card and then choose any number of your opponent's battle cards and they gain Servant until the end of your opponent's next turn, and then choose 1. So essentially everything in rest mode, you're going to be picking it and giving it Servant, and then it can gain dual attack double strike or triple strike for the turn. So depending on where you're at, most of the time I feel like dual attack double is probably going to be the better option, but if you need a 1-hit KO triple strike, not a bad choice there too. Active main limit 1 for 2 energy. If your opponent has 4 or more energy and your opponent has 2 or more battle cards in play, play this card from your hand. So that one needs 4 or more energy for your opponent and 2 battle cards. For overwhelm choices, considering dropping this down to 1 just because it has no combo power, which really hurts, but has the amazing ability of Overwhelm 6. When this card is played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards and choose owner's warp. But also has active main for 2 energy. If your leader card is black, play this card from your warp. So you can play this card from the warp. That will trigger your unison if you want to get the uptick and draw as much as all of these other cards will. Earlier game Overwhelm if you need it, or just if you need the extra draw and push. Overwhelm 4, when this card is played using Overwhelm, draw 1 card and it gains plus 5,000 for the turn. So 25k, draw 1 free Overwhelm. You'll generally be able to get 4 in the drop area pretty easily. We touched on the Goku already, and now into the extra cards we have Support of the Dark Empire, which is your token negate. Life was 5 or less, you take a life and gain a blocker. And one of the best black negates in the game is Petrification. Negate the attack and then choose 1 card in your hand, place it in the drop. You can then choose one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier. It can't attack, be placed in the combo area, or activate skills until the end of their next turn. So if they're swinging at you, for example, with this Gogeta, you activate this and you shut it down. This auto is not going to be able to activate. So you essentially shut down all that sort of stuff with your fancy red Gogeta cards or whatever it may be that's going to put too much pressure on you. Petrification is your answer to shut down a lot of different things. Onto the Z cards. 3 different ones in this deck. Again, Cumber, it's a little bit of a love with Cumber as well, but they are really, really good cards. 2 energy, 1 Z energy. When this card is played or attack, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, energy cost 4 less, and it gains Servant until the end of your opponent's next turn. Ideally, you're going to be playing one of these guys out before this Z battle card, but it's there as a backup just in case. The big guy here is Majin Buu Pure Destroy. This card is insane. I don't know if you've versed it yet. It's so strong and so hard to try and get rid of. Blocker, active main. If your leader card backside is Majin Buu, not important here, blah, blah, blah. The one that we want is the limit 1 here. If your leader card is black and you have 3 or more energy and you place one of your Z energy in your drop, choose one of your opponent's battle cards, place it under this card, and this card gets plus 20,000 power until the end of your opponent's next turn. This is a 25k blocker. If even if you're against red and they're sort of negging it, it doesn't really matter because it's 25k. It's going to be a little bit safer. It's also a blocker. Essentially, whenever I've got this out, I'm always popping a Z energy just to steal something. It is a part of the cost is just to remove a Z energy. You don't need to choose a battle card. So if they've got nothing out, you can still gain the 20k. But if they do have something out, you can remove it, a threat piece, and gain 25k blocker. And the final one, this is just a sneaky critical guy in here because we do get a lot of cards in our warp. Son Goku for the mission. So this is designed for Son Goku Xeno deck. But we like the active main once per turn. For every 7 black battle cards in your warp, this card gets plus 5,000 power for the turn. 14 cards in there, you got 25k critical. Really, really solid. Like I said, I really love this deck. I encourage you to give it a go. There's definitely other options you can put it in there. For example, there's the new Marseille that was in the last anniversary box. Works really well when you overrun cards. Plenty of other choices that you can sort of play around with if you want to get rid of the thwarting package, if you want to maybe drop down some of these Black Marseilles here. There's always something that you can tweak, but I feel like consistency-wise, keeping it with as many Saiyans as possible is the best way to go. That's everything for the deck profile here. If there is something you would like to see on off-meta deck profiles, let us know in the comment section below. Again, we appreciate all your love and support. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one.